I am here, Mr. Tubbs.
What's going on, man?
Welcome.
Yeah.
Man, this is exciting.
It is. Podcast time.
Yes, podcast time. We just wrapped up AGF Virginia Beach State Championships over at the Field House in Virginia Beach. I've got some history with you, so I'm gonna do a little introduction here, and I introduce people, but not just that, but sometimes how I know them, you know.
Sure.
So the Firma Kimonos, he's the owner of that company. I'm sure you guys have seen his gis around the world, right? Also are you a captain in the Navy?
I am a lieutenant commander.
Lieutenant commander.
You
just got rid.
It has. I'm not a captain yet. They be 06s.
06, okay.
Yeah, I'm 04.
04.
Yeah.
And so, officer of the 4th rank for you non-military people. We are in, what city is this?
Chesapeake, Virginia.
Chesapeake, Virginia.
Yeah.
Combat veteran.
I am.
I know Ricardo from Texas as well. He was over there and competed in AGF in Texas as well. I've come over here, gone out with him and his wife and his kids. So a personal friend of mine, on top of being a cool dude, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Black Belt. He'll get into his lineage and all that kind of cool stuff, but very awesome person, human being, helps out a lot of people, very nice, no drama out of this guy, right? Good stuff.
No drama.
Anyways.
Drama-free zone. This is the drama-free zone.
This is the drama-free zone,
yeah.
For sure. And so, let's start. I mean, we got a few subjects I would like to talk about.
Anything you want to talk about?
Well, let's start with jiu-jitsu. How'd you get into jiu-jitsu? Tell us. I know you've been in the military for the last 20 years or so.
20 plus years. Yep. Getting ready to retire. 27 Mondays left in the Navy.
27 Mondays.
Yeah.
That's how we count down in the military, guys.
Yes. So jiu-jitsu, I got started because I got hurt really bad. I almost lost my foot, so I couldn't work out. I couldn't run like I used to run. So I was looking for something to help try to keep me in shape. And when I was in Hawaii, I worked with this Aloha Muscle and Fitness Extravaganza, right? And they brought different people in from different things. They had bodybuilders, they had strength guys, and they had this guy named Boss Rudin.
Oh yeah, I know Boss.
This guy named Boss Rudin, and he was the first person who introduced me to any type of grappling. So the very first person who taught me anything about grappling was Boss Rudin. And he was like kind of giving a private lesson to this other guy who was an MMA fighter. His name was Cabbage Carrera. I don't know if you remember Cabbage. Anyway, so out in Hawaii, and Boss just needed kind of a tackling dummy, and I was kind of the coordinator for the Aloha Muscle and Fitness Extravaganza. It was put on by this guy named Keith Jones, who was a world arm wrestling champion. Unfortunately, Keith passed away.
Is this regular arm wrestling or the one where we get to slap each other?
No, it was regular arm wrestling.
Okay.
I wouldn't. There's no way. I wouldn't let anybody let big old Keith Jones slap me. He was
Have you seen those?
Yeah. Keith was in that movie Over the Top.
Oh,
with Stallone. So anyway, long story short. So and then there was this other guy there. His name was Hoyler, and I knew who Hoyler was, and it was so funny because he had his sister lived there. So does his brother Helson lived there too. And I'd met his sister, and I didn't know she was a Gracie because she had a different last name. And I was like, oh, this is a lady here who's a jeweler. She's from Brazil. At least you'd have somebody to speak to in Portuguese. And he's like, yeah, that's my sister. So I was like, I'm an idiot. So anyway, long story short, I went on and I kept training. From there, I went to Hebrew Association. I trained with Alan Merlot, and then I moved, Navy, moved again, and I started training with this guy named Ricardo Tubbs. So out of Las Vegas, and then
in Dallas now.
He's in Dallas now. Yep. And so then I moved to Texas, and I kind of kept my lineage with Ricardo, but I moved to Texas, and I was training in Corpus Christi with Leo Cantu, and then up in Houston with Draculino. Draculino's a great guy. He's fantastic. I credit that guy with really getting me super motivated for jiu-jitsu. He's a jiu-jitsu genius, and probably I played sports my entire life. I played football, I ran track, I played football in college, and that guy could probably coach any sport. He just knows how to motivate people.
That's awesome. I've never really heard that so much about him, but I've heard a lot of people praise Grappling.
Yeah, I think he's a smart cat too. He was a lawyer too. He was a lawyer.
A lot of them are. I think the Hibero guys are too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So something like that.
But I mean, Grappling is just smart dude, smart kids, great family. Anyway, and then I left Texas, and I trained under Marcelo Alcantar. There's a lot of people, right? I trained under Marcelo Alcantar, who's also in the military. He's got his brown belt from Jacare, and then he got his black belt from Sanjay Hibero. And he's down in Pace, Florida, runs a great school down there now. And then, of course, military, he left. Still the whole time, I still maintained my training with Ricardo Visit as much as I could. And then I opened my own school. Had a black belt that was trained with me, Dalua.
Mm-hmm.
So he was also one of my instructors. And then through him, Andre Montero, and and now I get to train with, like, I'm lucky because we get visitors all the time. I get people like Eli Knight, who comes in 2 times a year. Hoist Gracie comes to visit us. I get to go up and train with Pedro Sauer, and I train with Bruno Bastos all the time, as much as I can. So yeah, I'm spoiled.
Mm-hmm.
The students are spoiled, I'm spoiled. So, but in the military, it's hard. When you're in the military, you move so much. It's very hard to keep your lineage under one system.
Yeah, it's like a catch-22, and you get to train with a bunch of people, which is good, but then it's hard to keep your lineage. But then you also a lot of dudes come in and out. When I was first in the military, I joined in '99. It was in by 2000, and there wasn't many people doing it then, But nowadays, I feel like there's black belts on every single duty station that there is, and that's a big change that I've seen in the last 20 years.
Yeah, I think, and I also think that there's so many people who have so much diversity in their jiu-jitsu background. So I try to train with anybody who does grappling, whether it's jiu-jitsu, sambo, catch wrestling. I don't care who it is. If I can learn something from them, I'll go and try to learn as much. And wrestling, Heidi is a fantastic wrestler. So I try to learn. I try to learn as much as I can from everybody, which is why everyone says my jiu-jitsu is weird. But I think because it's an amalgamation of everything that's out there. So if you want to be good at jiu-jitsu, I think you have to study all the different grappling, and judo too. Judo is a big deal. And then my lineage is I'm the fourth. I believe I was the 4th American black belt that Ricardo Cavalcanti promoted. So all the other guys before me, I think, are really amazing black belts. So they're real good. So yeah,
A little feather in the cap.
Yeah, I mean, And it's funny, when he gave me my black belt, there's a video of it. So Ricardo got his black belt from Carlson Sr., one of the few guys to actually get their black belt from Carlson Sr. And Carlson Sr. promoted him in a steakhouse, not on the mats or anything, at a steakhouse. You put the black belt on now, And so, unbeknownst to me, in my kitchen, Ricardo promoted me to black belt.
That's cool. That's cool.
I'm not gonna say I cried, because I don't cry.
Apron on and everything. Hands dirty. Let me wash my hands right for the sun.
Yeah. So now we're in our own academy. We have 3 black belts who are here. Myself, Lana Ricky, which she was out in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Zoss got his black belt under Pellegrino out in Boston at Mass BJJ. And Lana's a GF team black belt, but we're all here together, so we're kind of like Switzerland over here. So anybody can come in and train.
There you go.
Switzerland, Swiss Jiu-Jitsu.
Swiss Jiu-Jitsu. There you go. The conglomerate.
Yes.
Neutral zone. Drama-free zone.
Yeah, there's no drama here.
Well, that's awesome.
We don't allow drama.
How did you? So tell us, with the Firma, what's the progress there? How did it start? Where did you?
The Wiggy Company or the gym?
The Gi Company. I think
Yeah,
the
so
company's known more than the gym right now.
Yeah, I think so too. So I was in Afghanistan and I had an incident and I didn't die. And I said, and before that I kept saying, one day I'm going to start this company. My father used to be, or my parents used to own a clothing factory, small one, but a clothing factory nonetheless in Boston. And so I knew how things needed to be done. We had one of those things that happened in war. And I came back and I said, when I get back home, I'm going to start this company.
No more wasting my time.
Yeah, no more wasting my time.
Gonna accomplish the things.
Yeah. And so, I made that decision to get it started. We've done well. I think the one thing that people know about that company is that we have like a million sizes, 54 different sizes available. So we make gis for men, women, kids. We have short sizes, wide sizes, tall and wide sizes, short and wide sizes, so there's a gi that'll fit everybody, we think. So, I think that's what separates us apart. And then we're always trying to innovate. We've used some new fabrics. We came out with this micro-light gi that everybody really loves. I personally like our regular weight gi. I call it the right weight. I feel like it's not too heavy, it's not too light.
The right weight.
The right weight.
That's cool.
So then we have the lightweight gis, and people like those a lot. So I don't.
And you guys are full. It's shirts, shorts, rash guards, all that kind of stuff too.
Yep.
So it's not just skis out there, folks. Where would they check the company out? Different.
Shop.thefirmabjj.com.
Shop.thefirmabjj.com.
Yeah, that'll bring them right to the store.
That's becoming more and more popular. I actually have one too, the dot shops.
Mm-hmm.
Taking over some of the .com life, and so that's interesting that it's a dot shop.
Yeah, it's easy to find us.
Yeah.
We have everything under the sun, and we have some new color schemes coming out every year. We come up with a new color mix.
How much of your life does you do a lot of things.
I do.
You got the gym, new baby and wife, and the company of the gis and all that kind of stuff, and
Navy.
And of course the Navy's a huge thing. Just having a 9-to-5 in the Navy, and not just being a jiu-jitsu instructor only, and then So what is it that you think for the company, as in I'm talking like the clothing company? What is it that really kicked it off? Did you start?
Well, I always felt like so.
And what year was it?
We started in 2011, right after I came back from Afghanistan. So we started in 2011, and small, just like trying to make prototypes. And actually, it's funny. Eli was one of the first people we made a custom gi for. Eli Knight,
yeah.
And then also
Super famous on YouTube. He's got great videos. Check out.
He's got great hair.
I wouldn't compliment the guy on that, but
He's got great hair. And then actually, the first person I actually made a custom gi for was Travis Luter.
Oh, cool! Yeah,
Travis
Texas.
he had ordered some gis from another company. He wasn't happy with them, and we made them from. Travis is a great dude. If I was still in Texas, I would always go and visit him. He's a cool cat.
Pressure.
Yeah, his jiu-jitsu. I definitely think that's a guy whose jiu-jitsu is underrated. Like, people don't talk about his jiu-jitsu as much as they should.
Well, kind of like anything in jiu-jitsu and MMA, that a year or two later, you're forgot about. And his jiu-jitsu is great.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize he's an ADCC competitor, but he made it up to a title fight with Anderson Silva. I think he was more known for MMA. Yeah. I believe it was either South Carolina or South Dakota or North Dakota. He was a D1 wrestler as well. And then one of Carlos Machado's first black belts. I used to go train with him. You mentioned Bruno Bastos. When Bruno was in Dallas, I used to go over to Luter's with him. And it was just, the days that we went to Luter's was just grappling. Maybe it was a technique or something, but it was mainly for the boys to go grapple. And I took instruction over at Octagon when Bruno was over there. And so I've rolled with Luter a lot. And he's the one that made me it really sunk in. He used to tell me it was a war of attrition.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first one to fall out. Simple little things like instead of being a side control with your elbow down, he'd put it on my ribs.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. That's just like takes the air right out of you.
Yes, his pressure is ridiculous. He's got long arms, and clubs you, and you know, like he feels violent to grapple with. You know, there's no gentle art.
But he's such a sweet man.
Well, he's just quiet. He's not sweet. He's quiet. He's the serial killer. I think is his nickname, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's cool. I watched him with kids and good business and stuff. So that's awesome.
No, but yeah, and so, so back to the gi company. I came back, and one of the things that I said that I wanted to do with the gi company was, it originally it started out that I wanted a gi that fit everybody, because I would always see like people in gis that were ill-fitting. Maybe the sleeves were too long, or the pants were too long, or they weren't wide enough, or women wearing men's gis and they just don't fit a woman the way that they should fit. And so I just decided that we would design gis, not just one like A1 through A4. You know, we've got, I don't know, a bunch of different sizes for men and women. So I just wanted people to have gis that fit. And like there was a lot of guys that would like call me and they're like, I'm just starting jiu-jitsu. Like I remember a guy who was just starting jiu-jitsu and he's like, I'm 6'3" and I'm 450. You got a gi that fits me? And I was like, no, I don't have one that fits you, but I'll make you one. And so that's what we did, and that's how we came up with so many of these sizes, because people would hear that, you know, if you couldn't find a gi that fit you, we would make a gi that fit
accommodate you. Yeah.
So, and that's, you know, it's one of those things where it wasn't going to make us any money. Like it wasn't going to make a ton of money, but
small niche.
It's not even so much about small niche. It was just I felt like if somebody's going to do jiu-jitsu, they should be comfortable. So I decided, if somebody calls me and they need a gi to fit, I'll make something if I don't have one on show.
So it's the big and tall of the jiu-jitsu.
But you know what? We also have we even have down to F00, like tiny, like 90 pounds and under 5 feet tall adult women. Or I have 90 pounds and 5'5", right? You're not, if you're a 100-pound woman and you're 5'5", there's nothing that's going to fit you well, except for our gis, maybe. And I'm sure maybe there's now.
And again, it goes like that with other companies. You know, without naming a bunch of other companies, there's definitely a brand where I'm like, oh, that brand is for long, thin guys. This one's short and boxy. This one's, so that's different. And I feel like with women, I struggle sometimes trying to tell women their size. But in reality, with the buns and thighs on some of the women, I feel like that they almost need, for example, they would need an A2 top and an A3 bottom.
Yeah, that's what we eliminated. Right? Yeah. We eliminated that by making 54 different sizes. Yeah. So now you have to do is say, I'm 5'4" and I'm 130 pounds. That's an F1, right? Or conversely, I'm 5'10" and I'm 5'10" and I'm 200 pounds, 210 pounds, right? That's a F4M, right? So we have all these sizes, no reason to mix and match, it just fits.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
And then if people, the other thing too, if people are I've tried different gis and I'm a power lifter and my quads are this big and this, just call us, or send us an email and we'll figure it out. What I do is I ask people, send me, so this is weird, people think I'm crazy. And I say, send me a picture of yourself, front, back, side, and then send me pictures in a doorway. Because I can tell by reference in a doorway, most doors are about the same size. I can tell by reference somebody's
wide this way or wide that way. I got you.
So I can tell their sizes by the reference of the doorway. So,
and that's a step above other companies for sure in terms of customer service and production quality.
We try hard. I mean, again, making a one-off gi for somebody it's not going to make me $1 million, right? It's not, actually the gi company is not going to make me $1 million. But I provided somebody in the jiu-jitsu world with a gi that fits.
And that's translated into the Firma Training Center here in
Yeah, this is my baby. I spend a lot of time here. I work all day in the Navy, and then I get in my car, I drive here, and I leave here at 9, 10 o'clock at night, and I do it 6 days a week. Except for Saturday, I don't work for the Navy on Saturdays unless I have duty.
So family affair though? I mean,
family's here.
Your son's a blue.
Yeah, my son Sebastian's a blue belt. He helps teach the kids classes with me. Logan's a white belt. He helps teach classes with me. My son Alessandro, who competed yesterday, double by the way.
Double. We ain't talking in and out, people.
Champ.
Talking go.
Champ. We had a couple champs yesterday. But I mean, he's good. He's 9 years old. We don't, we don't push them to compete. If they want to compete, he can. And he had a good time yesterday. And he's really nice to the kids that he competed against. It was funny. He thought that one of the kids that he did double leg takedown on his competitor, and he thought the competitor got hurt, and he just stopped and was like, "Are you okay?" And like everybody in the crowd was like, "Oh." I mean, as a father and a professor, that's what you want to see. Though. I mean, you don't want, I don't want my kid to go out there and be that kid who's like, kill everybody, break everybody's arms.
Yeah.
Because it's at the end of the day, it's an amateur sport. So and we had some other doubles out there. We had kids who did really well yesterday.
You guys won adult gi.
We won the adult gi.
Yeah.
Yes. I even competed yesterday.
Yes, you did.
Yes, it's fun.
Right after you had some
equilibrium
procedure
the
day before.
Yeah, I was really dizzy. But I promised you I would compete, so
sweet.
Don't break a word.
There you go.
Don't break a word, so that was good. Yeah, we're good. I mean, actually, the academy is my baby. I like what we do for our community. We've got a bunch of kids here, adults. I mean, we have really loyal adults who come and train. We have classes 6 days a week, and people like adults can come every day. Kids, we start in a fundamentals program, and then they move up into our elite program, and then they move into a master's program. And the kids, our master's program is not huge. That's more for the kids who, have been training for a little bit, and then they're ready for a faster paced class. But they get in there for about a good hour, and they don't stop moving. The parents love it because they sleep. we put those kids to sleep after that. So, and then we just, our biggest thing is we focus on technique, and we focus on, like we talked about the other day, was fundamentals. Like we want our kids to have the best fundamental jiu-jitsu they can, and then all the other fancy stuff will come later. Same thing with adults. I have this saying that I just came up with, and some people might think I'm crazy, but I don't believe that there are any fundamental techniques in jiu-jitsu. There's fundamental movements. So if you think about that, right, all these techniques that we do are all built off of our fundamental movements, right? If you can't move your hips in the right way, you can't keep your shoulders off of the mat, if you can't, and you name it, right? They all lead themselves into what we call the fundamental techniques, but it's all fundamental movements. And that's like one of the things that we teach our kids, and people hear me saying crazy stuff like, do the magic jiu-jitsu position, right? Magic jiu-jitsu, it is what it is. But our kids know what it is, our adults know what it is, and it's about a specific way of moving. So, and we talk about, if you do this, like we just talked about with Travis, if I take my hand and I put that forearm in the diaphragm, it gets really hard to breathe, right? So that's stuff that maybe some people don't always do. So we focus on fundamental movements that move into basic techniques that then can move into advanced techniques. And I'm sure like when you were a white belt, you saw these black belts doing all this stuff, and you're like, what's all this stuff that they're doing, right? They could do all that stuff because they know the fundamental movements of jiu-jitsu. Like, you came here and taught my guys the truck position, right? I can see the white belts having a hard time with it, but the blue belts and the purple belts, because they understood the movement, it was a little bit easier for them.
Yeah.
So once you understand, and in jiu-jitsu, like, there's nothing normal about the movements that we do in jiu-jitsu. You don't walk down the street
and bearable,
right? That's not normal, right? It's not, so none of the movements are normal. But when you learn how to move your body in a jiu-jitsu manner, then everything else becomes a little bit more easy. And I think, like, for me, like, how many times have you ever heard a black belt say, like, the whole world opened to me when I became a black belt? It's like a new start.
Yeah, because you can master the fundamentals.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking on the same subject, I push for me personally, I'm real big on fundamentals as well too. And I tell people, I use Roger Gracie as an example.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, he does blue belt jiu-jitsu at the black belt level.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he doesn't do anything fancy. So he's the biggest example that I try and use. It's a bummer that he doesn't compete so much now, because now my blue belts and white belts now, you know, as soon as that guy stops competing, they don't know him. You know, like, oh yeah, I heard of him, but they didn't watch him compete at Worlds.
We actually have a sign on the wall. I don't know if you can see it underneath here behind.
Don't change the recipe.
It says don't change the recipe.
Yeah.
The recipe is clear, right? If you took Roger Gracie's recipe, pass the guard, establish side control, go to the mount, cross choke, finish the fight.
Yep.
It's a pretty good recipe.
Yeah.
Worked pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? Worked really good, you know. Or you take like Marcelo Garcia, right? He's gonna butterfly sweep you. He's gonna wrap your hands around your neck, high elbow guillotine, or he's gonna go to a single leg X, pass your guard, guillotine from the top, guillotine. I understand that he's got this really nasty triangle. If people forgot about his triangles from ADCC, you've seen that guy's legs.
And he heel hooked Tico Rodriguez.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't forget it.
Have you ever seen
the leg locker?
Have you ever seen his legs?
Oh yeah, he's fast and explosive, I also like grappling with them, grip, all that.
He's 190 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
People don't think that. I was just talking to him the other day, and we were talking about whatever. And I was like, "How much do you weigh?" He's like 190. I was like, "No, you don't." He's like, "I got the legs."
Yeah.
And it's a funny
Well,
story.
I think his big legs is what makes him hook flip so well.
Oh, yeah.
His quad extensions.
Yeah. There's a funny thing. Like I was at a tournament and I stepped on his shoe, and I was like, "Man, I'm so sorry about that." He's like, "No worries." And then so I had done a seminar with him, and while we were taking pictures together, he stepped on my foot. It's a funny picture. It's really funny. So he's stepping on my foot.
Known as the nicest guy in jiu-jitsu.
He is a nice guy.
For sure.
He's a very, very nice guy.
And I use him as an example in terms of the fundamentals changing. Like, you know, 1990 jiu-jitsu, you grab someone's neck and guard and you stretch out.
Yeah.
You know, and now it's like high elbow, you lay on your side, or 10-finger guillotine, and you're throwing the leg over on one side. And so it's like even some of the, you know, the basic movements of the beginner techniques has changed.
Yeah, and I but if you just watch him though, right? It's the same fundamental movements that everybody has to have in jiu-jitsu. He just knows how to string them together better than a lot of people.
I think he's got black belt movements timed better than everyone.
Yeah.
I feel like all of those black belts have blue belts timed.
I've never actually really rolled with him. I was his ugi for a little bit for something and whatever. But I've never really rolled with him. But I can imagine that it's an eye opener. You know, just like it is rolling with any black belt. I think no matter who you roll with, whether you get the best of them or they get the best of you, every roll is an opportunity to learn, right? So, and you know, so it's always like, you know, people say there's no losing, there's learning, and I think that is applicable for jiu-jitsu. Like every time you roll with somebody, you're gonna learn something.
Yeah.
So whether they're white belt to black belt to coral belt, you're gonna learn something. So I've never rolled with anybody who over coral belt, so that's why I stopped there. So, and then there's, you know,
I never rolled any red belts.
No, me either.
Yeah.
But I think like there's guys out there who are phenomenal at jiu-jitsu that you really don't think, because we're so like the big media is about the whoever's the top guy in sport jiu-jitsu right now. But like a guy I get to train with and learn from all the time is Pedro Sauer. And he's Hickson Gracie black belt. The guy's just a wealth of knowledge, and really also another guy who's super nice. Learning from Pedro Sauer, learning the system and the way that he teaches people is amazing. Just the amount that you can learn from somebody like that is amazing. Same thing with Ricardo. Ricardo's an amazing instructor. Dracolino, Leo Cantu, all the guys that I train with, I've been lucky enough to train with a lot of different people. And and people have things to teach. I think everybody has things to teach, but I really like to see the guys who just really have this grand mastery of these fundamental movements and these little things that you see, like just little things that you see, like these guys doing. You know, they're so much older than you, and you can't do anything to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
I sometimes, like when I first came here, I did a PR tour. Remember? I think it was 2 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
He gave me a tour and my kids, my dad.
Oh, the ship, yeah.
Yeah, we went to an aircraft carrier. That was really cool because we're over here by Norfolk, Virginia, so it's one of the largest naval
It is
installations.
the largest naval base in the world.
The largest, so it's got the title. And so when I do some of these PR tours, I'll hit multiple gyms in one city to go say, hey, like rolling with them instead of just going there and passing out flyers and hey, go to my tournament. So I think some people appreciate a black belt coming around that owns a company that also like gets down on the mats. 'Cause that's what we're all the same as once we doctor, lawyer, criminal, Navy guy to 7-Eleven clerk. We all just wear a gi at that point.
When you get on the mats,
Nobody knows. And on that high rank subject, I did a PR tour in Florida, and I got murdered by a 5th degree black belt. Like he must have been like, I don't know if he was 45 to 55, somewhere in there. A Brazilian guy. There was a Gracie Barra. There was a couple like 4 or 5 stripe type dudes. Yeah. And I got murdered.
Yeah.
And I move around a lot when I grapple, and I was not moving.
You should try rolling with. Actually, you know what? I did roll with Luis Palhares. He's a red and white belt now. That guy's amazing.
It's crazy though that like you said, the mastery of the fundamentals, but then like I was stuck, and he and not being in his youth, he did this very slowly, and I couldn't move. Walked away from that trip super appreciative that I got to roll with that guy.
Yeah, it's that one of the things I told one of my students. I said, just because somebody tries to pull guard on you doesn't mean you have to oblige them. Like you don't have to go into his guard. Yeah. Right. So, and that's what these older masters, man. They're masters that like you try to pull guard, they're gonna pass it, control you, and then when you try to wiggle around because your fundamentals suck. Right, not that yours did, but because
it did compared to his.
Well, but you know what I mean. Like you don't get yourself into the right position to protect yourself and to escape. They're just gonna hold you and let you fizzle out for a few minutes, like you said, Travis. Taking away your
settle down, young buck.
And then they're gonna have their way with you, like jail.
Yeah. that's the humility factor that's in jiu-jitsu, right? For sure. Yeah. I met another dude down there, African American gentleman named Sam McCoy. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he fought down in Florida. He actually just moved up to Maryland, and he was probably one of the better deep half guard players that I ever came across. We were down at PR tour. Me and one of my black belts went down there, and man, I follow him on Facebook now. I friended him right away. Yeah. I have like certain things that I do all of the time to pass deep half or change the position or submit. And boy, he had an answer for everything. Yeah. And I asked him, how did you get so good at it? What did you do? And you always hear people's stories, So he went to Abu Dhabi and he was there for I forgot what he said, 1 year, 3 years, something like that. Yeah. And you would run into a room full of 60 black belts. They're bringing in black belts, Brazilian black belts like crazy.
It's slowing that down out here now, but anyway.
But yeah, he said there would be literally 50 to 60 black belts on a mat. And he's like, you're not going to go on the China shop with every single one, every single round. So eventually he had to make his jiu-jitsu last a long time in terms of being able to do that. And that's why he fell in love with Dpad. And I took some sweeps and things away from him. Went back because I got students that are deep half guard guys. Yeah. Check this out. I love sharing it and running into stuff.
Who's really good at really annihilating deep half guard is Lovato.
On bottom?
No.
Top
beating it. Yeah, beating it. He's really good at it. I think he said he's I think I can pass everybody's. And legitimately, he's got an answer for it, and he's good. He's really good. I like to see guys who. Lovato's been at this for so long.
Yeah, for sure.
He's been at this for a long time. But you watch these guys and their movements, and what he's doing. I did a class with him not long ago, and man, it was definitely an eye opener. I felt like a white belt. I was like, what am I doing?
Well, did you see his thing on Flow Grappling the other day? He's got like 5, 6 videos, something like that. And what he's really good at, that I like about his passing in particular, is the Vado passes to the mount.
Yeah.
It's like mount. So as he's passing, whichever way or what he's doing, he crisscrosses to the mount instead of just passing the caskets on it or something like that, you know. And it's probably more rewarding, obviously point-wise, submission-wise, all that kind of good stuff. But interesting tactic to just go, you know, I'm going to pass to the mount every time and force going that way instead of just...
Yeah, Salo, his instructor, was really good about that. And they called it like the Herbero mount or something like that. I'm probably saying it the wrong way, but, you know, just another guy who's fantastic at what he does. But anyway, I mean, that's jiu-jitsu. And these guys are, you know, anyway, you do your best to try to learn from everybody.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
You know, my students were blown away by the stuff that you taught. I was too. I was hurt. I tore my hamstring the last time you were here.
Yeah, black and blue.
Yeah, it was ugly. That was ugly.
Yeah, his whole back of his leg was black and blue from pulling a hamstring. Ooh.
I was torn.
And I was like, well, we're going to do the banana split.
I was like, yeah.
And that was my whole plan.
I'm going to sit right over here, player. You go ahead and do that banana split.
Yeah.
My ass is sitting over here. So, yeah.
Is there people still here doing it all?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Sweet.
I didn't tell you, man, I've had students who have been here since the day we opened 5 years ago. 5 years ago. And they haven't left. So, you know, this is a military town, so people, you know, they PCS every 3 years or so. But, you know.
PCS is changing duty stations for your non-military folk.
My fault.
We're talking to the world here, man.
Oh, I forget. So, yeah, so people leave every 3 years, but you know what? People come in every 3 years too. And the interesting thing is people come in, they're like, oh, I heard about you from my friend so-and-so who trained here and he loved it and now he's over here. And or I get like, I just had like another guy who just happened to come in and visit and he found out somebody he trains with is getting orders over here and they're like, oh, go train over there.
Or you, not you know, make yourself talk about yourself, but I mean, an honest question, are you a little bit popular in the Navy for being a black belt and having a school and a key company? And
popular in the Navy.
I mean, the largest Navy duty station, you know what I mean?
I mean, we do have a lot of Navy people who train here. I would probably say the people who I have to go and inspect, I'm not popular. I'm probably not popular.
The Article 15 kids are not too.
They're probably not too happy with them. But no, I mean, yeah, I mean, we do a lot of good things. I mean, we you know, I go out and I'll as much as I can. I volunteer with the local PDs. I go out and I teach different military groups. All they got to do is ask. Actually, I just taught a class at, just a few days ago, I just taught a class at Fort Meade to the guys up there. Yeah, anybody, I'll go up and teach. And then usually, like if I am going to go to a military base, I kind of have some ulterior motives because I think that there's a lot of groups out there that are promoting awareness of people who are committing suicide in the military, which is great to have awareness. But when I go to do a seminar, especially if anybody invites me out to a military base to do a seminar, invite me out to a military base to do a seminar. Trust me, you can afford it. I don't really charge much.
And he can get on base, no worries.
Yeah, I can get on base. But one of the things that I do is I really like to have, even if they've never done jiu-jitsu before, I like to have the leadership out there, right? So, and then, you know, I talk to leaders about, I believe that it's, a leader has to be able to recognize people who are at risk. And a leader has to not be afraid to walk right up to somebody and say, hey, Brendan, things haven't been going so good. You feel like killing yourself? You feel like hurting yourself right now? You'd be surprised how many people will look you dead in the face and tell you, I've been thinking about it for the last 6 months. And nobody's asked the question, right? You're just getting in trouble. This guy's just not the right guy.
That's deep.
You know, and I do that. Just had to do it just a few days ago. But teaching leaders how to do that through my jiu-jitsu, and through coming out and doing jiu-jitsus, and I get people down, and then we sit down and we talk about this stuff. because raising awareness doesn't do shit if you don't have the tools to be active to do it. So even though I'm going to leave the military, I'm going to retire. I think I've done everything I can. I've suffered my share of injuries. I'm just never going to leave the military itself. I'm always going to do my best to.
And you're going to permanently retire out here?
I am. We want to stay here in this area for a while, but I like to travel. I like to get out. I like to share jiu-jitsu. I like to learn jiu-jitsu.
Buying a boat?
I'm not buying a boat. I want to buy a farm.
Always got to ask a Navy guy.
I want to buy a farm.
Army at heart. I get it.
I want like, I'm not kidding. I don't want to see any neighbors. I want like 100 acres. I want my firing range back on the left part. I need a pond over here, and I grew up in the city too. Yeah. So like I need a lake over here. I mean, I want a big piece of property.
Cool.
Something to grow. Maybe learn how to make bourbon. You know.
There you go. There's another company coming in.
I think so. No, I'm serious about it too. Anybody got any property for sale cheap?
The Firma bourbon.
Yeah. Now I gotta pay you.
I know. That's how it works, dude.
Damn.
Call me quick for nothing.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like, yeah. So I mean, that is my goal. I do want to start getting out and doing some more outreach stuff, and not just military. I think police stations need it too. Mm-hmm. I think they're at risk. They suffer the same kind of PTSD that we do, and fire stations and nurses and doctors, and I go in and I teach at hospitals and all kinds of different stuff.
Mm-hmm. So. I think it's an underrated spot of teaching. Like we tend to teach military and law enforcement. Mm-hmm. I literally think that paramedics, firefighters, and stuff they deal with PCP and fools. You know what I mean? Like drugs. People trying to get out of there.
No, like people don't realize this, but one of the professions that have the highest assault rates is nurses. Mm-hmm. Right, nurses and medical staff are getting assaulted constantly, and my hospital that I work in is not exempt. Like they're not exempt from it. So just because it's on a military base doesn't mean people aren't crazy.
And it's a part
because
of
they are.
It's a part of the jiu-jitsu as well too. Like I don't want a nurse to go take this dude's back and rear naked choke him. Yeah. Usually it's going to be a control factor. Mm-hmm. Hand movements, knee on belly or something like that.
And before that,
holding them down.
Before that, it's awareness. Like, as well as I know that, I mean, of course, like, being that I've been to war several times, and I know you have too, when you come back from situations like that, you become hypervigilant, right? You may not have recognized it, but I'm sure you are. Like, you go somewhere, you walk down the street, you see everything that's going on around you, right?
Especially when you first come back.
Yeah, you see it. But you're even more vigilant and more aware after you do jiu-jitsu. Right, so more so, and I'm not just talking about like Marin Wills. Like we teach fundamental self-defense jiu-jitsu here too. Now we have guys who compete, as you saw, but like we focus on fundamental self-defense techniques. We focus on the original Gracie self-defense techniques as best we can, which is why I always comes here and I get to train with Pedro. And so we learn as much as we can and utilize that as much as we can, but we also add in other stuff too, other things that we've taught to police and special operations and all different kinds of other stuff. We add all that stuff in. So people have to understand that, it doesn't, I have no problems with any school that the first thing they teach their student is a Peruvian necktie. That's fine, I accept that. There's nothing wrong with that, they're learning jiu-jitsu. But like I said, we focus on fundamentals when they're first starting in self-defense, especially kids and adults. You'd be surprised. I mean, I think I saw somewhere, and I'm going to say this wrong, but like there was a study that came out that was like 2/3 of women have been assaulted, right? That's a huge staggering number in different varying levels of assault. What if they knew how to defend themselves?
Yeah, for sure.
What if they knew how to get somebody off of them? What if they knew a simple UPA escape to get somebody off of you, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why, like, when we do our intro classes, the UPA escape is one of the first things we teach. So that way, even if they never come back, at least I've taught I've taught you how to do something, and maybe you might not do it perfectly, but if you get the guy off of you, you'll be able to do that. And at the same time, we do all this, and we still have guys who go out and we win first place in gi tournaments as a team.
I think there's a division, and a lot of people are talking about it now. There's a division in jiu-jitsu now. You've got, I started in the 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So almost everything was strike-based jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
So you can call that self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
Today, it falls under MMA as well too. But back then, it was like, there was no foot on the biceps triangles. That's not where I was at. And I stem from John Machado Black Belts in California, and it's like block the punch from guard, overhook, and go to a triangle. It wasn't just like, we're popping a spider guard triangle. And so I learned a lot of that. I think that's one why some of the MMA fighters like me, and it's also why I can still teach military and police, because I have the fundamental. But I feel like today you've got gi, you've got no gi, you've got MMA, and you got self-defense. And people are it's really like, it's almost divided now. You go into a gym, even some of my affiliates, you walk in, you've got gi, no gi, MMA. And MMA is where you learn your strike-based jiu-jitsu, and it's morphing into something else. And I think there's many schools now that are not going to know how to get out of certain basic fundamental self-defense things. They can kill you no gi and do a million different things, or gi, or whatever you want to call it. But there's just, there's those classical self-defense things, some of the certain headlocks, some of the certain
again, it goes back to
push collar,
Again, it goes back to fundamental movements, not fundamental techniques.
Yes, I gotta watch myself saying that around you.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right. But if you think about it, it goes back to if you sit there and lay on your back and somebody's throwing punches at you, right? They're gonna hit you. Your head's gonna hit the ground. Your brain's gonna hit your forehead, and then it's gonna go back. You're gonna have that counter coup thing, right? And then you're gonna get knocked out. Like, that's how you get knocked out. So, at least if you're on your back, So, because your brain floats, Anyway, and so we're able to do both. I don't think, and we teach a no-gi class every Wednesday. We're probably gonna add another one here pretty soon. And then we have an advanced no-gi class after the regular adult no-gi class. Our kids get no-gi every week. So it's, that's one of the reasons why we have so many classes too. Like, I know that and I don't knock any other school. I don't tell any other school what to do, but like, some places their schedule only allows them to have jiu-jitsu twice a week. That's fine. It's no big deal, but we're jiu-jitsu 6 days a week, because we focus on jiu-jitsu.
I like that there's other styles too.
Yeah.
I used to be a hater. I used to be like, oh, don't do this, or these guys do that, or today's day and age, it's all about the leg locks, or jiu-jitsu goes through phases. But I actually enjoy the fact that there's other teams that train other things.
Listen, I have another, again, I told you I have a lot of different people who I train with. I have an instructor of mine down in Atlanta, Rodrigo Alchalero. Big
ADCC veteran.
ADCC veteran. He's a black belt in judo, Olympic judo guy from Brazil. Right? He was a wrestler. I believe he was an Olympic wrestler too, on the Olympic team. Obviously black belt in jiu-jitsu. And the other thing that he's really, really, really good at that people don't know, he's a Krav Maga guy. Right? So he goes to Israel and studies with the guys who originated Krav Maga.
I think I just saw him at the beach in Israel on Facebook the other day.
Yeah, and I get to learn from this guy, and arresting techniques, and people don't realize that he's a guy who teaches arresting techniques. He's trained the BOP out in Brazil. He's trained everybody on the sun, and so as much as I can, whenever I get down to Atlanta, because I have family who lives down there, one of my first stops is to go find Rodrigo and go train with him. He's a big dude, man. He makes you look small.
Yeah.
He's just big. He lost weight. Now he's doing clay.
Yeah,
he's doing clay sculptures now. Big old dude with these big old hands doing little clay sculptures. But
we were on the AGF in Atlanta, and but me just being a fan of the sport, there's certain guys that he may not get gold every year, but that dude's qualifying for ADCC or invited every year, and people don't realize that.
He had a big super fight. I think it was an ADCC with Jeff Monson, it'd be Jeff Monson. I mean, this is my recent memory. I know his back has been jacked up a little bit, but man, he's a fabulous instructor. The guy is, and it's not just jiu-jitsu, that's the thing. Like, you know, like I tell people, don't do judo with him because you're gonna skip across the mat when he throws you like a rock going across the lake. You know, but you know, every now and again you gotta get thrown. But
hitting people with the earth.
yeah, hit him with earth. Yeah, and so yeah, so anyway, so that's another guy. I would tell people if you have the opportunity to go seek him out. I think he teaches at a place called X3 Sports. I believe that's where it is.
Yep.
X3 Sports.
I think so. Yeah.
So, but anyway, another guy, like I'm certified under his defensive tactics
Nice.
stuff. So,
Yeah.
and I try to learn. I've done defensive tactics with everybody you can think of. I've done the GST. I've done Rodrigo. We have this June. Have you heard of Invictus Leo?
Mm-hmm.
They're coming here in June, so we're gonna have a big. And that's me trying to do something for the community.
Yeah.
You know, they need some. I'm not gonna charge them to come here. I don't care. If I can help our police officers make it home every night, we'll do that here. So, so they're coming here in June. That's gonna be a big one. My buddy R.E.K. is coming down from Canada, and he's bringing the BJJ cop. Bunch of other guys that are gonna come down. So Ari's big Viking self is gonna come down here and teach us some of his Japanese jiu-jitsu and Aikido and Judo, jiu-jitsu and all other stuff he studies. I think he's got some stuff he made up, some Thor jitsu, I don't know, whatever.
Well, what's next on the horizon for you now?
Me personally, we're just gonna keep trying to grow our academy, keep trying to take care of our community, because I think that's one of our bigger things here is that we try to do as much as we can for the community, especially when it comes to teaching, you know, the military and the Leo and all that stuff. And then, you know, I talk about that stuff all the time, but like our kids program, I really love our kids program because we get kids who come in here and some of them are super shy. They haven't fit into any other sports, right? And jiu-jitsu is a place where I've watched kids grow. Like, I had this one student, Christopher, he came in and God, he was always like a fire plug. And like, you know, if I needed like a button that said, don't do that, Christopher, don't do that. And now Christopher is becoming one of my better students.
Cool.
And I had another kid, Matthias, he came in, an awesome kid. And he would cry every time before he came on the mats. And now he's on the mats, and he's another kid who's becoming one of our better students.
Yeah.
There's so many of them.
Even my own son, he's 8 now, but he is pretty emotional in the beginning. Even when he's winning, he'll be on someone's back and be crying.
Yeah.
And I think it's maybe that fight or flight anxiety, for lack of better terms, and so that they don't know how to handle that, and they start crying a little prematurely without being hurt. You know?
I have the opposite with my son. Like, he forgets that this is the academy and not home and shows his butt too much. So yeah, so I gotta look at him like, boy,
just had to pick that one,
boy.
Sorry.
Get it, pow. So I just tell him the chocolate coming for you, son. So, but no, the next thing is, you know, when I
grow
retire.
the kids program, that's what
Yeah. I mean, we want to grow all of them, but I really want to grow the kids program. There's kids out there who are getting bullied left and right.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we like it or not, what is it? The blue for bullying is whatever they have kids wear. That blue shirt's not saving you. The one thing that'll stop a bully is standing up to a bully. You know what? I'll give you another little.
There's 2 things that'll stop a bully, in my opinion. It's not talked about as often. Sometimes we get people in that are being bullied, and then sometimes we get the little jerks that are bullies.
Oh yeah, I have a couple of those whose parents brought them in because they were bullies.
Yeah, and so the humility that comes with losing. Usually when I get those kids, I'm like, here, go with this little orange belt girl. Like, go with the girl over here that's smaller than you, and so they get humbled real quick, you know. Like, so that is to another. I get parents in and we talk about that. Either the kid's getting bullied, or sometimes I come in and the kid's super athletic, or you know, they'll pick on some kids during class, and I'm like, we'll fix that too. You know?
Yeah. So my son's last day of middle school. Yeah, last day of middle school. So you've met my son Sebastian. He's got pituitary dwarfism. He's very small for his age. 16 years old. People are like, "You're 16?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm 16." Do you not hear me using full sentences?
You can't tell.
Yeah, he tries that. He's got a little hair on his chest now. Whatever. I just pull it off. But yeah. So this kid, it was the last day of school, and they the little gang mentality. You got to beat somebody up before you go to high school, and they chose Sebastian obviously because he was the smallest. And, the kid was, I guess my son thought he was his boy. But then he started calling him names, and my son was like, "Hey, I don't like to be called that. Just don't call me that." In class, we talk about this. We actually role play this. So we have this talk, tell, tackle, takedown, whichever you want to. And so kid wouldn't leave him alone, kind of left the situation, told the teacher. The teacher was like, "Just go back and play," which is what happens all the time. Maybe not all the time, but a lot of times, especially in schools being so overcrowded now. And
they just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, they don't want to deal with it. And then, next thing you know, some kid's getting beat up and their head gets hit on a sink and they die, like just happened in Delaware not too long ago.
I didn't hear about that.
Oh yeah, it happened not too long ago. And so anyway, the kid swung at my son, ducked the punch, standard beautiful double leg takedown, took the kid's back and was like, "I don't want to fight with you." And the kid was like, "Screw you, when I get up, I'm going to beat my son."
Childhood, yeah.
So, and I got the call from the principal. The principal was like, "Well, if he hadn't put his hands around his neck, he wouldn't be suspended." And then we talked about it, and I said, "Hey, this is what I teach my son. You told your teacher, right?" And so the one thing
he told the teacher and the assailant.
Yeah, he told everybody. So the one thing that'll stop a bully is being able to protect yourself, right? And another thing for parents, right? What do they come and train jiu-jitsu here? Your confidence. If you're confident, and you tell a bully, "Nah, it's not going to happen." That's your first step for it to not to happen again. And in the military, right?
Yeah.
Somebody wants to run their mouth too much.
Yep.
Wall-to-wall counseling. Wall-to-wall counseling. we call it tree line counseling.
Tree line counseling. Go out to the tree line, yeah.
Go out to the tree line. But tap out or pass out. Somebody will want to. Yeah. But of course you can't do that anymore. That was a long time.
That was so much more fun.
Yeah.
Now everyone's getting written up like crazy.
Yeah. But tree line counseling, that's good stuff. All the Marines are like, "Yeah, Doc, that's right," because I was just corpsman.
Yeah.
Station with Marines and SEALs and EOD forever.
Yeah.
And so they're like, yeah. So I had a colonel who I think he wanted to get me beat down. We would do our daily set, we'd go for our runs, and the colonel was just like, "Doc Tubbs can out-Marine half you Marines." I was like, "Dang, sir, you trying to get me killed?" Those are my boys.
I know, right?
Don't ever say that again, please.
Going to the military, I was in the Army. We don't really have branch rivalry.
Yeah.
And then I went down to Florida. I was at Eglin Air Force Base going to school, and even though I was in the Army, and I saw that was where I first saw the Marine-Navy rivalry. I went over to Pensacola as well too, and I was just like, dang. And then them Marines, boy, they just dig in the Navy for no to be crossing the street.
But as long as you're corpsman, you're good.
Yeah, as long as you're corpsman.
Corpsman's good.
Corpsman's a medic. So in the Navy, a corpsman is put inside of a Marine Corps unit, and they're actually foot soldiers as well. They're not sitting on a float or whatnot. So the Marines think of corpsmen differently.
Yeah, I'll tell you. You want to hear a funny story? This is a military story, but I know it has nothing to do with jiu-jitsu, but it's funny. So I was doing a return of remains program, JTFFA, full accounting. So you go out and we look for the remains of missing in action, and we actually found several of them. But
oh wow, where was this?
This was this one was in Laos. Laos.
Yeah.
So it was. Sounds like a bad joke, but there was a Army Master Sergeant, Air Force Master Sergeant, Marine Corps gunny, and me as a Navy Chief. So this sounds like a bad joke, but it's funny. So this Master Sergeant from the Army was just like, he's like, in the Army we always say hooah, 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 hooah all the time. And he's like, "Gunny, I know you're oorah all the time." And he's like, "Doc, what do y'all say in the Navy?" I was like, "I don't even want to tell you. It's kind of corny." He's like, "Come on, what do you guys say?" And I was like, it's hooyah.
Hooyah, yeah.
Right? And he goes to the Air Force Master Sergeant, and he goes, "What do you guys say in the Air Force?" He goes, "Hootie hoo!" This guy says that. With no hesitation. This is also the same guy in the Air Force who tried to convince me that in the Air Force they had a union. They didn't want to go on. If they didn't want to go on deployment, they just talked to their union rep and they didn't have to go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a lie, but
Yeah.
Hootie was hilarious.
Good story.
Yeah. So anyway, but that has nothing to do with jiu-jitsu, but your army.
There you go.
But yeah, like I
think
said,
they say hoo-yah now, don't they? The Air
I don't
Force?
know what the Air Force says. I think it's hootie hoo.
When I was in, they were literally going through a phase where they were like, "What's our slogan?"
I don't
And
Aim high.
well, I think maybe that's their slogan,
Aim
but
high.
not their.
Adjust for windage.
Yeah, just for windage. Well, and at that time, I think it was like, it was aim high or air power.
Air power. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Air power was one that they used to say. You go air power. I was
Yeah.
like, no, stop.
Yeah, stop.
Sound like a Simpsons cartoon or something.
Yeah,
But I mean,
it sounds like it's skinhead.
that's terrible.
It is.
He said that.
That's what they sound like.
He said that.
Air power. I'm like, whoa.
He said that.
Equal opportunity over there.
That's crazy.
But they went through that phase for a couple of years, and I think they settled on hoo-yah though, which is funny because
They
it's
want to be like us.
yeah, they want to be like you guys, which is weird. I thought they would have took hoo-yah from the army because
They were part of the army.
yeah, prior army, yeah.
But anyway, like I said, we're just going to keep growing here. When I retire, I'm going to be here all the time. So this will be my full-time job when I retire, which will be great because we're gonna add in more classes. We've already added in more early morning classes, 6:30 a.m. classes. We have noon classes. I talked to you the other day. We're gonna add in like an executive class.
Yeah.
Either I haven't decided whether it's gonna be 45 years plus or 50 years plus. Probably 45.
So you got a good group of people over 45 and 50 then.
We do. We have guys, and you know, I think one of the things that my college football coach told me, like your number one ability is not running, it's not being able to catch the ball, it's availability. So like if you're not available, you're no good to me, right? So if you don't take care of your body, so forth and so on, you're hurt, you're not really good to me. So I think the biggest thing for us is availability of classes. That's the one thing that I've taken from other parts of my life and added into the school is availability. It's just why we have so many classes. Like if an adult was to take all of our classes, which they can, they want to train twice a day, they can. If they took all of our classes, it would be like $2 a class per month, $2.50, whatever it was. We figured out $3, I don't know. But you know, the classes are there for you. So just come and train as much as possible. And I've written an entirely different. So I write my curriculums out. I know you have a whole same thing as me, you know. So I write my curriculums out. So I'm changing the curriculum for 50 plus, you know, or 45 plus, whatever it's going to be. We'll have a lot more focus on technique, maybe a little bit less focus on actually rolling and smashing each other until they get better. You know?
I'm real big on positional battling anyways too. You know, if we for example, I kind of teach in 2 week segments. Sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's 3 weeks. Generally
Same
2 week segments. And I feel like a lot of us Americans are really doing that a lot. And we hear about the complaints of a random technique with another random technique, or maybe the 2 techniques match, but then the next day it's randomness.
Right.
You know, so I think that our style that we're really pushing is the same techniques for a while, and
I trick my students into learning. Well, you go ahead and finish.
and so like, say for example, we did omoplata for 2 weeks. I like to battle starting, not like in a full where you're gonna get your stuff broken off, but maybe one guy's laying back and has the omo, doesn't have the hip or something, and the other guy's trying to escape and that kind of stuff, just as an example. And so positional battles is also a really good way to force getting good in an area, because people can roll 20 times and never get into an omoplata, for example. So
yeah, we do a lot of positional training here. And some of it's because, like, sometimes, we do a lot of positional training here because we have so many, like, you know, sometimes, like, you go to school and everybody at that school is built just like the professor. Yeah, we don't have a lot of people built like me here, right? So, like, we got tall,
huge, muscular, and good looking. Is that what it is?
Other than the good looking. No, but we have a really big women's program here. We used to have 2 black belts, but Nicole left. She's super smart. She got a job at not a job. She's a professor at University of Michigan.
Oh, nice.
And then we have another black belt with Lana, like we talked about, and then Heidi's a brown belt with like a ton of experience. She started training in 2001, you know, and then we have purple belts who are in blue belts who are.
Heidi says, does she have short hair? Is
that lady? My Heidi.
Oh, your Heidi. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I thought you were referring to,
No.
there was a girl that came out. I thought she was a purple or brown. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, yeah.
I thought it was another one as well.
Yeah, no.
Well, yours knows, your Heidi, your wife, when we say yours.
Yeah. She's amazing. She's
wrestling and
her
jiu-jitsu,
wrestling,
right?
Wrestling, jiu-jitsu. She's done a little bit of everything. She is good.
Originally Ohio girl, if I remember
Yes, she's
correctly.
really good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Really nice, and you know she's also the master of the fundamentals. You know, she's just a master of the fundamentals. I mean, and she's always trying to master fundamentals, and then she plays it into her game, and she uses the wrestling and the movements, and she's good.
Did she wrestle like in high school and stuff like that?
In college.
College too? Awesome. Where did she wrestle in college?
Cumberland College. That's good that I
At
remember
Ohio?
that.
I don't know.
No,
where
that's
at.
in Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Yeah, so she's really good. But I mean, but then, you know, like I said, I believe that everybody should learn from everybody. So usually when I do seminars, it's male, female, male, and female. Like we just had Christina Barlow here.
Oh, the instructors that come in are
Oh, yeah.
male and then the next time's female.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
We had Tarsus Humphreys here not too long ago.
Yes.
That guy's fantastic.
Yes. He's one of my favorite. Yeah.
He is fantastic. Christina's fantastic. I
Mhm.
mean, Christina's really, really good. So hopefully, like we try to build relationships with people so they want to keep coming back.
Yeah, yeah.
And I spoil my students. We get Eli comes here all the time. He's got something great. Eli Knight.
Mhm.
He's got things to train and teach people all the time. Eli was one of our first sponsored athletes from the Firma Kimonos.
Oh, nice.
So he brings with him a ton of knowledge. And then we get Hoist, we have Pedro, we've had Bernardo Faria here. I just not trying to drop names, but the point is that I'm trying to make is that we don't have just one. Our eyes don't do this.
Yeah.
We're all going to do everything this way. And when I teach, I teach my students things that I think they should know that maybe they'll use, but I probably don't use all of it.
Mhm.
You know, I'm sure you teach things
Oh,
that
yeah,
are
for
not
sure.
a big part of your game. But then I see my students, doing the stuff, and it works for them. Like my youngest son, Sandre, the one who competed, never once had I ever taught him Spider Guard. He just watched probably Professor Lana doing it, and he just started doing Spider Guard. So, okay, 9 years old, you want to do Spider Guard? Now you're gonna do it. Now you're gonna learn it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, he's gotten good at that too. So.
I knew Christina from when she was in Arizona. I think she's in Cali or something like that.
Yeah,
right? Or
she's in
Vegas or-
California.
Yeah.
Chiroterra.
Mm-hmm.
Changed that
I
chiroterra.
know her from when she was at Gustavo Dantas.
Mhm,
Back,
yep.
yeah. She's a ninja too.
Yeah, and she thinks she can dance better than me. Nah,
So now we're good looking, muscular.
I'm not good looking. I'm all right looking.
Well, you even if you're ugly and you wear a uniform, chicks still think you're hot. So I gotta give that to you just off the rip.
All right, I'll take
All right,
it.
all right. And now we can dance.
Yeah, I can
What
dance.
kind of dancing we doing?
Come on, man.
We twerking
Come
or are you salsa?
Twerking. Well,
Did you guys have a dance off?
there was this anaconda dance.
There was.
Some of the story. There's
Different one.
a very good video of her dancing with my son, which is really cute.
That's cool.
Pretty funny, but I can outdance her.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm just throwing it down. Let's go.
You're next.
Let's go, lady. So she can dance.
That's cool.
Yeah. But yeah. So like I said, we're trying to make this. This is a great place to train. It's fun. We're also a family-centric gym too. Like I have mother, father, son, daughter.
Mhm.
The whole family comes here and trains.
Mhm.
So it's great. We're really happy about that. That all my kids are on the mat. I love to see families come in and train. And then that's why we do separate some of our classes too, because like when we do our advanced classes, like we have a competition class too.
Mhm.
Like come in and be ready to work.
Mhm.
Although we're not a competition-centric school, like come in ready to work. Let's focus on our techniques. And I saw my students' techniques that we've just been working on just for a few months doing it yesterday in the tournament.
Yeah.
This simple stuff.
That's
it was-
awesome.
It was great.
That magic jiu-jitsu.
Magic Jiu-Jitsu.
Magic position.
If they want to know what Magic Jiu-Jitsu is, there's only one way to find out.
Being a tournament
Come
director,
across.
I see thousands of matches, 1,000 coaches.
Never heard anybody say magic jiu-jitsu?
No, not that. I hear the craziest names sometimes. You're like, do the wiggle worm, and I'm like, what? What do you know? Just different crazy stuff. It's funny how some people have little nicknames for certain techniques.
Well,
I've heard them all. It's crazy.
That's why Salo believes that I owe him money, because I may have learned the firma from him.
Ah.
Yeah. He's not getting paid.
He's not getting paid.
No,
not getting paid.
It's not gonna happen. So,
Well, good stuff, man. I'm about to catch a flight back to Texas.
Yeah, man, this was fun. I hope people find it interesting.
Yeah, they always we get great feedback from here. I personally, you mentioned Bruno Bastos, like a bunch of people I know as well too. There's a lot of people that are in the industry that definitely are interested in these podcasts as well too.
I'll be out visiting. So Bruno is getting promoted, either at the end of the year or the beginning of the year. So I'm going out to Midland.
He's getting his 20th stripe or something.
He's definitely gonna beat Hanata Laraja.
There you go.
That guy. Yeah, so we're gonna go out to his promotion. I believe it's his 5th degree.
Yeah.
I believe it's his 5th degree, and that's a big deal. And I'm friends with his brother too, Hiko.
Hiko, yeah.
Yeah, so it's I think that's gonna be a good time. So we're gonna go out and celebrate that, because that's a big milestone. Fifth degree is a big deal.
For sure.
I mean, they're all big deals, but that's gonna be a big one, and I know there's gonna be a lot of.
He just opened his big old facility and everything, so shout out to Bruno.
His wife is good too.
Yep,
she's good.
The Bulgarian Beast or something like that. I forgot what he calls her.
I'm not calling anybody's wife a beast.
Well, in terms of grappling.
He said it.
Grappling. Don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah, but I think I don't want to quote her. She won worlds and pans. Yeah. And judo. I think originally from Bulgaria. That kind of stuff.
She was like I believe, I'm probably saying this wrong, but I think that she was on the Olympic level too for judo. So, yeah.
I had a great conversation with him the other day. I was at the Dallas Open, and we were just talking about, him and I have been through different relationships. We've known each other for 10 years, and trained and watched him go through businesses and moving, and we having kids, and me too. My ex was pregnant at the time. He knew me then. And he was so complimentary about Petya in terms of how she was in line with what he's doing and what they're doing together, and it's so much easier when you have that support.
That's why things are going great here.
Yeah, because you got the college wrestling brown belt wife.
I mean, and Bruno and I were talking about, Bruno just had that big match with Tom DeBlas, right?
I was there. It was Kazan.
Yeah, and how did he win?
Judo. Basically, yeah.
Foot sweep, right?
Yeah.
Where do you think how his judo is getting better? He talks about how much she has really helped him as far as like gripping and movements. And I didn't know that was a no-gi match, but still, foot sweep.
And he's been a judo fan. Because I used to train him. He's always been a judo fan too. So if he's getting better at it, we're all in trouble.
Yeah, I know. I get to roll with him often. It's always a good lesson.
Yeah.
It's always a good lesson. I try to do toe locks on him. Like, just take the big toe. Like, this little piggy. I try to take the little piggy.
I remember when I first started training with him, I didn't like Ezekiel chokes for some reason. Prior to or something, I was like, those are dirty or whatever. And he was like, really? I didn't swallow right for a week. But he also showed me a variation. He doesn't go all the way around the head. He crushes and pushes into the fist. It's something that I still do to this day. It's probably
man, I'm telling you, it's so great. Like, I have another friend of mine who's black belt under Ricardo Cavalcanti. Homolo Cayado. He owns Carlson Gracie Henderson. Man, I learned so much from that guy. He's a great dude. He's got a nice school out there. It's another place. If you ever go out to Vegas, you should visit there.
Nice.
Just really, really, really good.
What was his name again?
Homolo Cayado.
Homolo Cayado.
He's good. Carlson Gracie Henderson. When I go to Vegas, that's where I typically go to train. Because we all kind of came up together.
Yeah.
And it's nice. And there's other guys out there too that people don't know. Robert's out there.
Drysdale.
No. Robert is also, I believe Robert was Ricardo's first American black belt. I'm probably wrong. He has a school with Ricardo's 5th black belt, and that guy's fantastic. Like, you want to talk about fantastic jiu-jitsu from a guy that like a lot of people don't know. Rob, he's a Filipino guy, Hawaiian background, I think too. Like me, he likes good food, but he's like tiny. But he is, man, fantastic jiu-jitsu. Like those guys, like that all came up there. Rob.
It's close to the source.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic. I love going to go train and learn from those guys too. So.
Anything on the horizon for the gi company?
New design. We have a new black gi and a white gi that's coming out. Just new color design. It's in the microlight. Every size that we make this time is going to be available instead of just the niche sizes. Like every size. Like so, we'll have like the A8M is going to be available, and that's the big dude. That's like the 400-pound plus guy. So they'll be available for retail. They buy from the retail. So sometimes I don't make a lot of them. This time we made a lot of them, and there's a lot available. So
Nice.
yeah. So yeah, that's it. We're just trying to do our best and trying to grow this academy. This is what we love, and keep the gi company going and keep teaching jiu-jitsu, learning from great guys like you, going out and you know, I know this was like a podcast of me. I don't think I'm that interesting, but a lot of us around here want to thank you for what you do with the tournaments. Tournaments are great for academies, whether people like it or not. Whether you're a competition school or not, it puts the jiu-jitsu name out there. And you bringing a high quality tournament to us. The tournament flowed perfectly. You said we were going to start at this time. You said this was the time your match was going to be. That's what I've been at tournaments where we start at 7:30 and we're not leaving until like 10 o'clock at night. I'm not feeling that.
Nope.
I
used to work for them,
Yeah.
and that's when I decided somebody's got to do it
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
There's money in the game, and I want to say I appreciate that very much, because me and my partner Chris, he's been I did 2 tournaments, and then after that in like 08, 09 time frame, and then after that, me and Chris have been together, and that's the #1 thing that we try to have for AGF is customer service, quality, caring, like answering emails back to, just proper signage, the stuff isn't all torn up, doing what you say you're gonna do.
Listen, I know this really dumb black belt who signed up all of his students and forgot to sign up his son. That was me.
Yeah. If it makes you feel better, you're definitely not the only one,
Yeah, but I mean, and we need that. We need high quality tournaments to come through here, because if they're not, right, I think you had good refereeing yesterday. No black belt is ever going to be happy with every referee, but you train your referees, you had good ones, and so sometimes you get referees for these tournaments that are not that blue belts can't referee, but they're scraping the bottom of the barrel. They're anybody, right? And they haven't had training, and so but I know that good organizations will always take feedback and try to get better the next time.
Yes.
And I know I gave you some feedback about venue and this, that, and the other thing, and we changed venue. I think we had a better turnout this time.
Yes.
So it's just a matter of just trying to get people to come out and have fun. Like I'm not nearly like when I competed a lot between white belt and purple belt. I focus more now on training my students, but I want to compete again more. But I said, come back out and I'll compete. So not that I'm an important guy, but it shows my students. Let's get out there, win, lose, or draw. I mean, I could have lost every match, right? I think my students still would have been happy that I got out there. I was fortunate to win and do well, and it shows the students that there's more out there than just coming to class, that we can come out and have fun. And then all of our local black belts, most of us, we all get along with each other. We're all cool with each other. They have their job, but like another local school is doing a open mat for the food bank on Jonathan Ward's, and we're going to go over and support that. It's not too far from us.
And he will be referee for me.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that he was. I think he's at like 13 black belts or something. He runs Tidewater.
Tidewater BJJ.
And I sat down, had a good conversation with him, and
they're good dudes
really
over
like
there.
him.
I mean, they're cool dudes. I mean, and we all. I mean, for the most part, we all get along. So everybody has their different niche for what they do, I think Jonathan's an excellent instructor and a good dude. He's a nurse. He's like
he says an RN.
He's an ER nurse, I think, if I'm correct, or maybe med-surg, one of the two. But yeah. I mean, like I said, obviously, Alan was one of my instructors, and he's at Bushido, and
I did not know Alan well. He used to teach me.
No, not here, but I learned from him, and
okay.
And then Greg Walker, Mark Saucer. There's a lot of guys here. We're all cool with each other, so there's no reason to be hating on each other.
We'll be back, I believe, in June.
Well, let's push that sucker.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get it out there. I want to see. We love having you in, but we want to have more tournaments come in. You can't come in every month.
Yeah.
So I think the more tournaments that we have that are better tournaments.
That's the problem. Is sometimes it's not here. Texas and everywhere in California, everyone that sees a little bit of money in the game, and so they jump in and they don't have a quality tournament, and so then you expose a bunch of people to a bad experience.
Yeah,
and it ruins it for some of the good tournaments.
I've been to tournaments where their mats are dead, like the mats it's like this, and you see somebody just getting thrown with a simple osogari, and they're getting knocked out.
Ooh,
And again, I'm not knocking anybody at all. I just think that I'll say what I think is the better ones. You got new mats, you've got good refs. You got a good point system. So it all works out pretty good. And so the better tournaments that come in, it's going to be better for jiu-jitsu in our area. So that's one of the reasons why we supported the last tournament that came through and this tournament that comes through, and getting people excited about competing. Although, again, I think competing in jiu-jitsu, it's like a very small percentage of what jiu-jitsu is about.
Yeah.
We talked about this the other day where a friend of mine who's from Brazil was just like, there's this guy, I'm a multiple time world champion, there's a guy in my gym, he'll beat everybody. He'll wipe the mats with everybody. He'll wipe the mats with everybody, but he doesn't compete, doesn't need to, but he'll smash everybody. There's always, those guys who can do that, So I think competition jiu-jitsu is a very, very small percentage of jiu-jitsu, but it's also fun. So I know a lot of people don't agree with me on that. Like, some people are very staunch, it should only be this way, it should only be that way, but I think competition is fun. Get to learn a little bit about yourself and get out there. So
I think it has benefits too, the more than just technique. Sometimes you need to eat right, you need to cut weight, you need to motivate. Some people, if they have super anxiety, it might help them to actually compete to try and get through something. There's a bunch of different reasons for sure, but man, I appreciate your time. I know you came here on a Sunday, got the wife and kid out on the mats up there, and check out the Firma Kimonos and the training center and Facebook. Ricardo Tubbs.
Ricardo. They always call me Ricardo de Firma because there's too many Ricardos in Brazil.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
All right, man. We'll see you soon.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. All right.
Thanks.